Hi, this is Dwight. I thought we should talk about Britain again, being that they've just voted to leave the European Union. In order to really capture what we should talk about here, let me go back a ways. First of all, what is the European Union? I mean, why was it created? After the Second World War, the idea was that we should never let France and Germany go to war again. After World War One and World War Two, that was probably a reasonable fear. The EU can trace its origins back to the European Coal and Steel Community in 1951 and the European Economic Community, which was 1958. These are by the inner six countries of Belgium, France, West Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. Uh, but the idea of the greater European project was laid out by Robert Schuman and other leaders in the Schuman Declaration in 1950. Uh, Basically, the EU is formed of 28 European countries. Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, the Netherlands, Portugal, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. Well, the United Kingdom is now leaving. Uh, so the Brits recently voted for Brexit. On June 23rd, 2016. Brexit is an abbreviation for British exit from the EU. In fact, it was the most Googled term immediately after the vote. So what does this really mean? Well, uh, the new Prime Minister, Theresa May, plans to tell the EU that Britain wants to leave the bloc by triggering Article 50 sometime in the next year. She's going to have to do that. The use of Article 50, the minute she invoked it, starts a time around 2 years of exit talks before the UK is expelled from the political bloc, which often uses the right of European Union members under the Treaty of the European Union, Article 50. Any member state may decide to withdraw from the Union in accordance with its own constitutional requirements, and Britain has therefore done so. Well, if you were paying any attention to the Brexit campaign, the Leave and Remain sides were both heavily involved in fear mongering. It was kind of a shame that such an important decision came down to so much disinformation on both sides, but that's politics, in the 21st century. However, what is true is that Britain has decided to leave, and the question is, what does that now mean? Well, the biggest problem that Britain has, the trickiest question, is how does Britain get access to the EU's single market, the world's biggest? Crucial since most of half of Britain's exports go to the EU. It matters greatly for the fastest growing component of exports, services, including financial services. I mean, the city of London is one of the leading financial districts, probably the leading financial district in the world. They need access to the EU. The strongest argument for Brexit was that the only way to restore sovereignty to Parliament and escape the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice, and of course all of the thousands of bureaucrats, that make their home in Brussels. But it's not going to be that easy. In a poll of more than 100 economists for the Financial Times at the start of 2016, three-quarters thought Brexit would adversely affect UK's medium-term economic prospects. But from that point on, things just get a little bit, what would you call, obscure, a little bit vague. We really don't know what this means. And unfortunately, the institutions that normally would follow this up for us haven't been very good at keeping us on track here. The IMF, in particular, was actually campaigning against Brexit, and they were forecasting gloom and doom, but yet their own projections for next year show that Britain should grow at about 1.6, 1.7%, which would be higher than the rest of the European Union. So, one of the things we don't know is what happens next because nobody's ever done this before. So the projections are inherently risky to take at face value. Is this going to impact Britain's economy negatively? My own guess is absolutely. I would forecast, along with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, that Britain may actually slide into a recession once this thing starts happening. The key thing will be how quickly can they get trade negotiations up and running. It generally takes between 2 to 5 years to do one-to-one trade negotiations. So that's what Britain is faced with right now. How do they keep those markets open when they no longer have access to the European Union as a right? And the question is, how angry is the EU going to be? Well, I think we're going to see that that's going to play out quite differently depending on which country we're talking about. The French are going to want to make it as difficult as possible because they're one of the architects of the European Union project. The Germans, on the other hand, are going to be of two minds because the Germans, while one of the architects of the European project, they're selling a lot of cars to the UK. So I mean, you got to remember that Britain is the world's fifth largest economy. So this is even on their own, they're quite a substantial component of global GDP. So my best guess is we need to wait and see. Somewhere's down the road in the next 12 months, we'll get a better idea of what's happening with the legislation as it passes through Parliament, as it goes to the European Parliament, how these negotiations are handled, whether or not Britain gets involved in the TTIP negotiations. These kind of issues are what we need to be paying attention to. My own guess, and that's all anybody's making right now because our models don't mean anything at this point in time. The guess is that there'll be a short-term hit. In 5 years, we'll probably wonder what the hell the fuss was over. As I said, in my Britain presentation, I am not worried about the British economy. These folks brought us the Industrial Revolution. 5 years from now, we'll wonder what the fuss was about. That's my guess. Thank you for listening. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.